Some internal documents that were just leaked from the Pentagon help to illustrate exactly why I'm getting so sick of people that are insisting nonstop that the country is too big to be fully occupied or too big for martial law. Because while they're not wrong about that, technically, the point they're trying to make with it is, and as you'll see in a second, the administration is taking those logistics into account. Now, bear with me for a second because I want to talk about this idea before tackling the leaked documents. It doesn't need to be the whole country for it to be effective. I usually point to history. Martial law has been called many, many times throughout history in many, many different countries, including the US, over 60 times here, by the way. And it's very often just declared on a small area. And these leaked Pentagon papers illustrate just one way they could go about this. So right off the bat, when people say, don't worry, it can't be done to the entire country, like, okay, good for you for living in a suburb, I guess, a place that would probably not be targeted by something like that. Because note that they don't address whether or not it could be done in a specific city or area. So what about those of us who live in cities that would absolutely be targeted by this sort of practice? Do we just not matter? Does it not matter if it's just not happening to everyone? That sort of thinking is exactly what got us here in the first place. And secondly, I've talked about this part as well, but I think I can very clearly illustrate it using Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Fallon. Obviously, there's a lot of different claims about why Colbert's show is being canceled. Let's just assume that there was at least a level of politics to it. The choice to cancel it, as much as it was done to Colbert, was a form of self-censorship, okay? CBS chose to cancel this show. Whether or not they felt pressured in order to get their merger approved may have and is very likely to have come into play, but ultimately they wanted something. They wanted a boot off a neck, and so they chose to take the proactive move of canceling the show. But ultimately, the government itself did not technically take Stephen Colbert off the air. Technically. Okay. 99% of censorship is self-censorship. And you know this. If you're watching me on a vertical app, you have no doubt seen someone, possibly even me, choose to self-censor. That can take various different forms, but most of us have either seen or heard of the consequences that can occur if you say or show something that you're not supposed to. So we choose to try to avoid those consequences by self-editing. Obviously, an app is not the government, so this isn't a question of free speech or the First Amendment or anything like that. Now, okay, it may feel like there was more of a heavy hand of government in the whole CBS Colbert situation. But now look at Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy showed up to rally and show his support for Colbert when that whole thing went down. Then just a couple of days ago, he had Greg Gutfeld on as a guest for the first time ever. Greg Gutfeld, if you're unfamiliar, and I wouldn't blame you, is a Fox News hack who fancies himself a comedian. And I genuinely cannot do his hackery justice. But all of a sudden, with everything else that's going on in this country, along with the censorship of late night hosts and just general media, Jimmy Fallon has on a Fox News host, and he lobs him some softball questions, plays nice, it's a puff piece. Lo and behold, Fox and Friends are celebrating now, saying, oh, this is the beginning of a new era where we can all get along. They're saying, oh, something changed back in 2016. Wonder what? But no. Now the solution, instead of not pushing that hate, is actually for people to cozy up to that hate. And Jimmy Fallon is just one of the first spineless dominoes to fall, I guess. Now, Jimmy Fallon wasn't censored per se. This just illustrates exactly how quickly and how easily it happens. You make an example out of someone, and then everyone else starts falling in line out of fear. And it can happen so swiftly that it doesn't even feel like, oh, they're not allowed to do something or say something. No, it looks like this. It looks like proactively moving towards exactly what they want from you. Because you don't want to make waves. You don't want what happened to that guy to happen to you, to that city to happen to yours. Which brings me to the internal Pentagon documents that the Washington Post got a hold of. Because one such proposal to get around the whole logistical nightmare of imposing martial law on the entire country is to have an essentially roving military reaction force to deal with any civil unrest. Basically, what's being proposed is the creation of a domestic civil disturbance quick reaction force. Hundreds of National Guard troops on standby 24/7 for 90-day stretches, stationed at one of two military bases, ready to hop on a plane and rapidly react and fly into a city if civil unrest occurs. But that's just one proposal. The point is, this shows that the administration understands something that these people clinging to logistic copium don't. And that is that you do not actually have to occupy every single part of the country, nor every single city. All you need is for states and cities to be afraid of being occupied. Power, tyranny, authority is almost never actually about logistics. It's about psychology. It's about human behavior and fear.